Over the last 3 years since Poppy Playtime came onto the scene and revitalized the mascot horror genre, it seems almost every month or so we get a new mascot horror game that tries to swoop in and become the next big thing. And while most of these projects end up being soulless nothing burgers or outright horribly made games, every once in a while something new will come out of the slot that's at least half decent. And normally, these games get coverage by just about every indie horror YouTuber there is, unless they just happen to be overshadowed by something Poppy, FNAF, or Bam Bam related. And yet, despite none of that having happened, Glitched Out ended up going entirely under the radar with most creators and audiences, despite being made by Super Horror Bro, who you 100% know, and if you don't, he's that guy who makes story explain videos for pretty much every indie horror game. And he's managed to acquire a very talented team to make his game a reality, with a very unique story and art style that while not groundbreaking in any way, is still really good and kinda looks like you took the story of SCP and the art of Bendy and smushed them together. So that's the point of this video. I wanted to know why, despite the game's potential and popular team behind it, no one seems to really be playing or talking about it outside of a Dawko video, but that man will play anything.
What's going on, guys? Dawko back again. Hope you're fantastic today, and welcome back to another SpongeBob horror game called SpongeBob's Evil Clone.
So that's what I'm here to figure out. Is it the lack of story and intrigue into the world? Is it that the gameplay is just not fun at all, is really buggy? Or is it just another walking simulator? Only time will tell. Until then, it's time to jump in and figure out what Glitched Out has to offer. We start the game by waking up in the middle of an explosion after a breach, and need to slowly make our way into a vent and pick up a keycard to escape to safety. And I don't want to be immediately negative, but as soon as I was given the ability to move, I realized it was just going to be a hassle. Just let me demonstrate for you. So this is walking speed. You know, it's not bad, but it still feels a little slow. And now here's running. It's such a minuscule difference that there might as well not be any running in the game at all, and it leads to every chase scene or tense moment feeling lackluster because the entities also move at this ridiculously slow pace to make sure you can outrun them. It just ends up making every chase completely lose any tension it could have had, and just ends up looking completely stupid, but I'll get back to it. Looking around the room, we find a monitor flashing the words, "Find the key, set me free," and a note hidden in the desk drawer. And honestly, this has been one of my favorite puzzles I've ever done in a Mascot Horror game. Around the room, there are 3 numbers represented by objects. The first is the number of sodas in the vending machine, after that is the number of figurines on this guy's shelf, and finally the number at the top of the board. And let me tell you, if this is the peak of puzzles I've seen in a Mascot Horror game without using the gimmick, we are sorely lacking in the puzzle department right now. I mean, seriously, outside the train in chapter 1 of Poppy, when has a Mascot Horror game truly made you think for a puzzle and has made that puzzle work without using their gimmick? I'll wait. Once we open the door, we meet Chip, an AI hacking tool we apparently created, but like most protagonists, we don't remember this because we have memory loss, because why wouldn't we? Also, side note, what's the deal with Mascot Horror games or digital entities recently? I mean, it's not a bad thing, but the last few years we've had Glitch Trap, Kanito Pet, Rambly, and now Chip. It's just something I noticed as I was playing this game. Chip is actually really charming and doesn't end up feeling like a shoehorned addition to the game. I mean, the guy talks like Spamton, what's not to love? Chip acts as our guide, giving us tips and having logs on employees and various entities we encounter so we can figure out how to avoid them. Chip also acts as this game's gimmick, being a hacking tool of sorts in a way that reminds me of the hacks we do in Welcome to the Game. There are 3 in total, and they're all pretty simple. The first is 2 boards on left and right. Using the A and D keys, we need to press on them when the dot is over a glitch. The second is a matching game where we need to click E on the symbol when it appears. Last but not least is Simon Says, where we need to hit those same symbols in an order that came before. These hacks sadly aren't randomized for each door every time you try them, but do work to add some variety in what you're doing, so it's not the same boring thing over and over. And this mechanic might honestly have the most potential to literally go anywhere, and I for one am really interested in what they decide to do next. We then enter the atrium, which while a visually interesting location, is still the same puzzle over again, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. All that really happens here is we find a code, unlock the next room, and discover our escape route Chip wanted to use is blocked off by a shutter door. Chip then tells us that the only way to open it back up is to head down to the basement and activate the backup generators. But at the entrance of the basement, we get the best line ever uttered in Mascot Horror history.
Is that a human eyeball? Holy shit, is that a dead body?
I'm sorry, I don't know why I find this so funny. The game intentionally and unintentionally has some really good humor. Like, yes, Captain Obvious, it's an eyeball, we can move on. Proceeding deeper into the basement, we find these wires scattered all over the floor and put them on a wall to activate an alarm. It's a weird puzzle, but we put them together and what follows is a scene ripped straight out of Bendy. I swear I've seen this exact scene in Bendy. If I can find the clip, it's on screen, but I swear. This is Seeker, and immediately his character design is better than all of Ban Ban by a mile. I really like its character design and how it sounds, despite how janky its animations are. I really like the little spikes on his elbows and the drawn-on details the model has. Also, I didn't notice, but apparently this is meant to be an ant. No clue how I got to that conclusion. I originally thought a devil or something, but nope, just your bog-standard overgrown ant. Seeker is our classic blind entity. And now, sit with me on this one, okay? You would assume that would mean you would just sneak around him and do stuff on the other side of the area, and he would just ignore you until you got close. But no, as soon as you start hacking a generator, he will come at you for no reason, despite being able to walk and run right behind him normally. The way you're meant to deal with Seeker is to reset the alarm that we literally see him destroy and try and attack us for. Then, once he's gone to the alarm, Seeker just completely loses aggro for the entire hack we need to do, so you can just beeline past him, do your hacking, reset the generator, and move on. Like, what? This mechanic took me like 6 tries to understand, and honestly, if there were either alarms around the area to pull, or the pieces on the ground were a little more pointed out to the player rather than having Chip immediately pop on screen and tell us to get hacking, maybe it would have been better. But as it stands, this mechanic just really annoyed me while playing, and it doesn't end there, because once we try and make our escape, we hit the big red button that flashes open, and Seeker tries to attack us. And you would think we need to hit the button to close the door on him, but that doesn't work, and because of our character's stupidly low walking and running speed, there's no chance to correct this, so you just die and get reset back to the very start of this area. Look, this took me 25 minutes, okay? I'm allowed to be a little annoyed at this section. It's just really unclear what to do here, and there's no chance to correct yourself if you mess up. Still, that doesn't mean this section is bad at all. The introduction of Seeker is handled very well and made him feel like a true threat. I also love the visuals this character provides. The tension of finishing a hack only to turn around and see this thing bolting into the room and slowly walk around to your location, forcing you to stay low and quiet to get away is terrifying, and I wish Glitched Out had more of this. The texture work on Seeker is also fantastic. There's not so much the design feels cluttered, but there's enough that the entire design feels so connected and clean despite its sketch-like style. I also really appreciate having a fully fleshed out lore and backstory to why the Bureau has this creature, why it was deemed anomalous, and just everything you could possibly want to know. And it's nice to see that exact same detail carry over to the other entities we encounter. Also, his jump scare is just peak, okay? I'm a sucker for real-time jump scares, especially those where the protagonist attempts to fight back instead of just accepting their fate and dying. Making our way out of the basement, 2 doors open up. The first leads to a long hallway with a hole in the center where Chip says we need a flashlight to go down, and another eyeball. The other door leads to my favorite character in this game, Celeste, a non-aggressive entity who offers us items in exchange for the human eyeballs we've been collecting. Celeste is a very cool character to me. It's clear they put a lot of time and effort in trying to humanize and characterize her, especially with that performance the voice actor gives that just brings everything together for this mystic weirdo vibe. I just love her. The items she has for sale include a key card to access previously locked rooms for 2 eyeballs, a projection tape for 6 eyeballs, and a flashlight for 5, making our goal now to collect 5 eyeballs in order to proceed forward. So with the 2 eyeballs we have, we buy the key card and make our way back to both the atrium and the office we started in. The office is a back room that once we enter we need to do a puzzle where we find 9 fuses hidden around the rooms and place them in a box, which gets us 2 more eyeballs and this golden tape of Super Horror trying to do this really serious American accent, but you can tell he's British.
Agent Yushinada, why oh why does Director Gast have such an unhealthy obsession with you?
We love you, Mike, never change. The next area in the atrium leads to a vent where something stalks us from above and is never expanded upon. Here we can collect our 3rd eyeball and a green keycard, which we can use to enter the projection room and collect our 4th eyeball. And now you may be thinking, you have 4, where's the 5th? And the 6th? Well, you see, we sort of already have them. Let me explain. See, this shop system is honestly one of the most broken and weirdest I've ever seen. See, when we collect eyeballs and buy stuff with them, we don't actually lose them at all, and instead can continue to use them over and over. Take buying the projection tape and flashlight. The projection tape is 6 eyeballs, whereas the flashlight is 5. I only have enough for 1, and yet I can buy both the tape and the flashlight at the same time. Why'd they make it like this? I have no clue. Maybe it's to prevent soft locks, but at this point just make them all 2 eyeballs, and have the player make a choice on whether they buy the keycard and projector to find out more lore, or just go straight into the ending. But the thing is, this doesn't even prevent soft locks at all, because I still got soft locked because Chip's dialogue teaching you how to use the flashlight and removing the invisible wall towards the hole didn't activate. And the reason is so stupid and has to do with how glitched out counts items. See, every time you respawn or reload the game, glitched out respawns every single item on the map, meaning the game can very easily get confused on what items you actually have, and because of this, it thought I didn't have the flashlight. But the thing is, I can't just go back and buy it again, because once you buy everything Celeste has, she closes down shop and you can't access her anymore. So I have to redo the entire Seeker section, collect all the eyes again, go back to a bugged Celeste who is both open and closed, rebuy the flashlight, have it not work again, and go back to Celeste a third time to buy it. Like, how do you screw up an item system this badly? But I digress, that was a bit of a tangent, and if I had paid money for this game, I'd be a lot more annoyed. Still, with flashlight in hand, we progress into the basement once again, getting knocked out and having a silly little moment with Chip that is absolutely necessary to mention here, before we find the shutters to the elevator are closed again. So, using the flash feature on Chip to fend off a new enemy called the Lurkers and activate 3 different generators, we finally open the exit, and can leave this place behind, until Seeker appears down here once again and gives chase, where we need to run to the elevator and Seeker holds the doors open, where it seems like the end, before Chip begins glitching out and holding him close to Seeker causes the world to distort, and forcing Seeker to stagger backwards. And surprisingly, the elevator doesn't break and send us crashing down deeper, and instead just stops barely before the exit at floor 2, meaning we actually made progress to escaping a facility for once in Mascot Horror history. And that was Glitched Out, a messy and buggy game that, if you ignore every glitch this game has to offer, is overall a great time and a really solid game that has a lot of potential, and I'm still very surprised that no one else is even talking about it. Chip is a fun mechanic and a really fun character overall, and I'm really glad this game is following the free Chapter 1 idea instead of having you pay for it, as I feel there's just barely enough in this game that if you did slap a price tag on it, people might not complain, but I think making it free was the best choice. How are they paying for everything in the future? I don't know, Super Hardware might just be loaded. Glitched Out is overall a very middle ground game. It's not as bad as Ban Ban or Muzi, but it's not as good as Poppy. Could it get to that point? Absolutely. If they leaned just a little more into the horror, kept expanding the gameplay and ideas present in Chapter 1, and fixed all the bugs, like, oh my god. If I cover Chapter 2, or if Chapter 2 even comes out, remains to be seen. But until then, I've been Core, and I'll see you in whatever I make next. Bye bye!